Would you like to know 5 mistakes to avoid as a buyer in today's real estate market? Well, you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to talk about 5 mistakes that buyers make that can cost them money and set them up to lose in today's competitive market. If you're thinking about buying a home anytime soon, you'll want to hear these traps to avoid. My name's Harry Moore and I'm an associate broker with EXP Realty, and I make content on this channel to help buyers and sellers learn about the real estate market so they can make educated decisions, the best decisions for them. If you like this content, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. All right, let's jump right in. Number 1, I'll wait until the market gets better. Well, some buyers have decided that they wanted to sit out the pandemic real estate boom. They felt like prices were getting too high and that there was going to be a correction sometime soon. Some of those buyers went out of the market and some of them have gotten back in again. And now they're paying more for similar properties than they would have before. And interest rates have moved up a lot. Here's a quick example. Looking at the median sold price in the DC metro area for March of 2022 versus the prior year, prices have moved up by about 7%. On a $500,000 sale, that's $35,000. But that's only part of the story. We've also seen a 2% increase in rates for 30-year mortgages on top of that. There's an old rule of thumb that we use in real estate. A 1% change in rates equals a 10% change in the payment. So that means there's been a 20% increase in the cost of money. So on that same house, $500,000 with a 20% down payment, that translates into an extra $461 a month in principal and interest payments. The driver of the market these days is the imbalance between supply and demand. There are 2 numbers that I think best illustrate this. First is inventory. Let's go back to March of 2019. That was the beginning of the last pre-pandemic spring market. If you look at the Washington, D.C. metro area, there were 10,512 active listings on the market. Compare that to March of 2022, where the total was 4,516. That's a 58% decrease in active homes for sale. That's a long hill to climb to get us back to a more normal level of inventory. There are a bunch of different factors that have caused this, and there's no magic wand that's going to turn this around anytime soon. Second is days on market. This shows the speed of the market, and it's been a big change over the past few years as well. As you can see from this chart, the median days on market in the DC area haven't gone above 14 days since December of 2019. Number 2, the real estate market is going to crash. Given the rapid run-up in prices, some buyers think that this market's getting ready to take a huge dive. People look back to the Great Recession and think that when this market changes, which it will, that it's going to be a repeat of the Great Recession. This market's very different from the last run-up that we saw between 2000 and 2007. That was caused by loose lending guidelines, crazy mortgage products with low or no down payment options, and that these products really had no connection to reality. And there was a big surplus of new construction, which caused a glut of inventory. Here's a graph that compares the inventory levels in the early 2000s to those today. It's a very different story. Many people have substantial equity, and the loans that they have now are actually based on the fact that they could repay them. Imagine that. There are also institutional investors with deep pockets that are moving into some markets and buying properties in bulk to convert them to rentals. The Wall Street money is probably not going to go away anytime soon. So there's a lot of money out there, and there's purchasing power like we've never seen before. If you'd like a copy of my buyer's guide for more tips to help you succeed in this market, you can click on the link below and download a free copy. Number 3, we'll need to waive all contingencies. Well, often that's the case, but not always. You need to be strategic about your offer. It's important to get as much background as you can about the seller's situation so that you can structure your offer accordingly. It's also really crucial to get information about what's going on with offers in that particular market segment. Here's an example that happened to me recently. I've had 3 buyers that got their offers accepted in the past 30 days. One of them waived all the contingencies and paid well above the asking price. The second paid a slight premium on the price and didn't have a home inspection contingency or financing contingency, but they did have an appraisal contingency. And the third buyer had their offer accepted at asking price and had an appraisal and financing contingency in place. So 3 different submarkets, 3 different price ranges, and 3 different strategies. No matter what, you want to have your ducks in a row. You want to be pre-approved by a reputable, responsive lender. You want to keep your time frames as short as possible. And you want to think about the concessions that you are or aren't able and willing to make. Showing the listing agent and the seller that you are prepared and ready to move forward can give you an advantage over another offer that might have better terms but isn't put together and presented well. Number 4, you can't negotiate on overpriced properties. It's important to remember that not every property sells lickety-split. Average days on market are very low for sure, but there are still properties that sit on the market for a while. There are really 2 markets. There's the market in the first 7 to 14 days, and then there's the rest of the market. Here again, it's important to understand the pace of the market segment that you're working in and what qualifies as a listing that's been on the market too long. If you're willing to focus on properties that are overpriced and have been lagging on the market for a little bit, or maybe something that's fallen out and just came back, you might be surprised what you can put together. I'm not suggesting that extreme lowball offers will get you very far in this market, because they won't. But keeping an eye out for the right situation might just get you a win. Number 5, it's better to buy an off-market property. Some buyers think that they're going to get a better deal that way. If they can just find something that's not officially on the market, they think that there's an owner just waiting to give them a special deal that's not available to everyone else. I work with some of my buyer clients to try and find off-market properties, but I also manage their expectations from the get-go. It's a low-odds game, and a buyer doesn't have much leverage. You've got to be willing to put the seller in the driver's seat, because they're probably not going to compromise very much. They're most likely going to want a premium price as an incentive to not go on the market. Sellers are pretty savvy, and they probably aren't going to leave any money on the table because they don't necessarily want to be listed. Another thing to watch out for with off-market properties is that they can be more likely to have the deal go sideways. The seller might not play by the same rules as if they were listed, which could make things more difficult. If a seller decides to misbehave, then the buyer can use the specific performance clause in the contract, but that can be an expensive and time-consuming process. And there are a lot of buyers who really don't want to go through that. There you go. 5 things you should remember as you're navigating through this interesting market we're in. If you have any questions, you can reach out directly. My contact information is below, or you can leave a comment in the remarks. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.